All right, let's talk about an ingredient you've almost certainly eaten, maybe even this week, but you've probably never even thought about it. We're going to dive into the really surprising world of rice syrup.
You've seen it, right? Words like natural and clean are popping up on more and more food labels. And it's not just some marketing gimmick. It feels like everyone, from giant food companies down to us regular home cooks, is looking for something better than those traditional super-processed sweeteners. And when you put rice syrup right next to something like traditional corn syrup, wow, the differences are just night and day. It's non-GMO, has absolutely zero fructose, and a super low risk for allergens. For food manufacturers, this is basically the holy grail. It's exactly what they're talking about when they say Clean Label, a product that just clicks with people who care about what they're eating. Okay, so if it's such a great alternative, what is this stuff really? And how in the world do you turn a simple grain of rice into a liquid sweetener? Let's get into it.
You know, the crazy thing is, at its heart, it's incredibly simple. All rice syrup is rice starch that's been broken down using natural enzymes. The final product is just a pure mix of glucose, maltose, and dextrin. That's it. No harsh chemicals, no artificial junk.
And this chart here just shows you how natural that whole process is. You start by milling rice into a powder. Then you add enzymes to liquefy and saccharify the starch, which, by the way, is just a fancy way of saying they turned it into simple sugars. After that, it gets filtered to get rid of any impurities, and then they just evaporate some water to get that final thick syrup. It's a really gentle journey from a solid grain to a smooth sweetener. Now, one of its superpowers is just how versatile it is. And that all comes down to something called a DE value, or dextrose equivalent. The best way to think about it is like a control dial. If you have a low DE value, you get a thick, not-so-sweet syrup that's perfect for thickening up a sauce. But crank that DE value up, and you get a much, much sweeter syrup. Being able to fine-tune it like this is exactly why you find it in so many different kinds of products. Okay, so now that we know what it is, let's go on a little scavenger hunt. Where is this stuff hiding? You're about to find out just how common this invisible ingredient really is. So you'll find it in drinks and dairy products, for sure. But its number one job? No contest. It's in baking and candy. This one category alone uses over a third of all the rice syrup out there. So why is the baking world so obsessed with it? Well, it comes down to two really simple reasons. It's fantastic at adding and holding on to moisture, which keeps things like cookies and bread soft, and because of that, it dramatically extends their shelf life. And this isn't just a theory, right? A real-world bakery actually did a study and found that by just swapping in rice syrup, their toast lasted an extra 3 to 5 days. For a bakery, that's a massive win against food waste. And for us, it just means we get a fresher product.
And it's a true multitasker everywhere else, too. In drinks, its sweetness is so mild it won't cover up those delicate fruit or tea flavors. In candy, it's the secret to stopping that gritty, crystallized texture from forming. For dairy, it's a super safe, low-allergen option for everything from yogurt to infant formula. Heck, it even thickens and adds color to sauces and glazes.
But here's where the story gets really interesting. Its usefulness doesn't stop with food. This is where we take an unexpected turn, right out of the pantry and into the pharmacy.
Yeah, you heard that right. Medicine. Just think about that for a second. The very same ingredient that's keeping your cookies soft is now being used to improve modern medicine. It's a crossover you would just never expect.
And we're not talking about some tiny, insignificant role here. It's actually becoming a key functional ingredient in pharmaceuticals. So the big question is, why? What makes this simple sweetener so valuable to the world of medicine?
Well, the answer comes down to a few of its pretty unique properties. For one, it's incredibly easy to digest, which is just critical for patients with sensitive systems, like the elderly or infants. It's also one of the safest sweeteners for people with allergies. And its mild sweetness, perfect for masking the bitter taste of things like cough syrup. And on top of all that, it acts as a stable, natural carrier to deliver active medicinal ingredients safely and effectively.
So, it's already in our food, it's in our medicine. What could possibly be next for this pretty humble ingredient?
For starters, we're talking about massive growth. The global market is projected to hit nearly $3 billion by 2030. And that kind of explosion doesn't just happen by itself. It's being driven by all of us, by our collective demand for ingredients that are natural, functional, and clean label.
But the biggest trend inside all that growth is one specific type: brown rice syrup. It already dominates the market, and it's the fastest growing piece of the pie. The reason is pretty simple. Because it's made from the whole grain, it holds on to more of the good stuff. We're talking more fiber, minerals, and vitamins. So you get all the same great functional benefits, but with an extra nutritional punch.
When you really stop and think about it, the journey of rice syrup from a simple, ancient grain to this high-tech, modern ingredient is just remarkable. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other ancient foods are just hiding in plain sight, waiting for us to unlock their secrets to solve tomorrow's challenges?